There was something about my oldest son that had been bothering me for days. He had just turned 18, and little by little I noticed he wasn't the same energetic boy he used to be. That Saturday afternoon, I found him sitting on the living room couch. The TV was off, his phone was in his hands, but he wasn't really using it. He was just staring at the screen. I had been thinking about this conversation for a while, so I sat down beside him and casually asked, "Hey, buddy, how was your weekend?" He shrugged. "It was fine. Really? Did you go to that party your friends were talking about?" He stared at me confused. "What party?" "The basketball game." "Did your team win?" Now he frowned. "Dad, are you okay? You know I never left the house this weekend." I smiled. "I know. I just wanted your attention." He waited for me to continue. "Son, I'd love to ask you about parties, games, road trips, and hanging out with friends. But lately, it seems like there's only one thing happening: loneliness." He looked away without saying a word. After a few seconds, I asked quietly, "How many Saturdays have you woken up hoping someone would text you and nobody did?" His silence answered before he could. "I know you," I continued. "I've watched you grow from an energetic little boy into a young man who's starting to isolate himself. And honestly, that worries me." He took a deep breath. Then, for the first time, he opened his heart. "You're right, Dad. I try. You have no idea how many times I unlocked my phone on Saturday because I thought maybe someone had finally sent me a message asking me to hang out. I read messages in different group chats. Sometimes I even suggest places we could go. But nobody really responds. So I just sit here, scrolling, waiting. And nothing happens." He gave a small, embarrassed smile. "The funny part is, I have hundreds of followers, hundreds of friends online." I nodded. "Followers are just numbers. They only prove people know your name. They don't prove anyone truly knows your heart. Real friends, they're much harder to find." He thought about that for a moment. Then he quietly said, "I think you're right. Last Friday I went to the mall. It was packed. I saw groups of friends laughing together, couples walking hand in hand, people taking selfies. I was surrounded by hundreds of people, and I've never felt so alone." He paused. I grabbed a coffee, sat there for almost an hour, and I kept watching everyone. The strange thing is, I started wondering if some of those people were feeling exactly what I was feeling. They were in the middle of a crowd, trying to escape the emptiness inside. But maybe they couldn't either. He looked down again. So I stayed home the rest of the weekend. I placed my hand gently on his shoulder. "I'm really sorry you're carrying that weight." Then I smiled. "But what if I told you this doesn't have to be the end of the story?" He looked at me with a mixture of hope and disbelief. "I'd love to believe that, Dad. But right now, I honestly don't see a way out." He let out a quiet sigh. "I wish I could believe that. But honestly, it feels impossible." "I know it does," I replied. "But believe me, what you're experiencing isn't unusual. So many young people your age are fighting the exact same battle. Loneliness doesn't always mean you failed. Sometimes it's simply a season where life is quietly preparing you for the next chapter." He looked at me, listening more carefully now. "You've got something incredibly powerful in your hands." He glanced at his phone. "This? Yes. That phone can either become the place where you wait for life to happen, or the tool you use to change someone's life? He frowned. I don't get it. You know I talk to a lot of people. Over the years, I've heard hundreds of stories. Some people told me they intentionally chose a quieter life. They learned to enjoy reading. Music, long walks, time alone with God, and they found peace. But many others didn't choose loneliness. It slowly found them. A close friend moved away. They started college in a new city. A relationship ended. They changed schools. Life simply moved in a different direction. He nodded slowly. That makes sense. But before we talk about what you can do, I want you to remember something God has already done. I reached for the Bible that was lying on the bookshelf beside us. There is a verse I've loved for many years. Though my father and mother forsake me, the Lord will receive me. Psalm 27. I waited a moment before continuing. And Jesus made another promise. Surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age. Matthew 28:20. I looked him in the eyes. Do you realize what that means? It means loneliness may be a feeling, but it is never your identity. You may feel alone, but according to God's promise, you never truly are. He remained silent, not because he disagreed, but because he was thinking. I could almost see the words settling into his heart. After a moment, he asked, So, what am I supposed to do? Just wait? I smiled. No, actually, now comes my favorite part. He laughed. I had a feeling you were going to say that. What if, I said quietly, instead of waiting for someone to rescue you, you became the answer to someone else's loneliness? He stared at me. Dad, I'm the one who's struggling. How could I possibly help someone else? I smiled again. Let me ask you something. How many times have you looked at your phone, hoping someone would text you first? He chuckled. Too many. I understand. Because I used to do exactly the same thing. His eyes widened. You? Oh, yes. There was a season in my life when I honestly believed people only called me when they needed something. I'd sit there, waiting for the phone to ring. And it rarely did. Then one day, I asked myself a question that changed everything. What if someone else is sitting at home right now, staring at their phone, hoping I'll be the one who calls? That thought changed me. I realized relationships are rarely built by two people waiting. Someone has to take the first step. Someone has to have the courage to reach out, and maybe God is inviting you to be that person. My son sat quietly for a few seconds. Then he looked at me and asked, But Dad, why should I be the one to call first? Because you have something many people don't realize they have. Courage. And when courage is placed in God's hands, it becomes compassion in action. You never know what someone else is carrying. That friend you haven't heard from, the classmate who suddenly became quiet, the neighbor who always smiles, the co-worker who says they're fine. Some of them may be fighting the very same loneliness you're feeling today. And a simple phone call could remind them they're not forgotten. I paused before continuing. Faith was never meant to be something we only keep inside our hearts. It was meant to move our hands, our feet, our words, our lives. When faith becomes action, God often uses it to heal two people at the same time. The person receiving kindness and the person offering it. A small smile finally appeared on his face. I've never thought about it that way. I know. Neither had I. But I can promise you something. There is a kind of joy you only discover when you become an answer to someone else's prayer. You stop waiting for life to happen. and you begin living with purpose. I looked at him and smiled. I believe in you. I truly do. I believe God has given you a compassionate heart. And I believe He can use you to bring hope into someone else's life. Taking that first step is simply choosing to live the way Christ taught us to live. To love, to care, to reach out, to serve. Sometimes the road out of our own pain begins when we decide to walk beside someone else's. He looked down for a moment. Then he smiled. A real smile. You know, I think I already know who I'm going to call today. I couldn't help smiling too. At that moment, I wasn't celebrating because his loneliness had disappeared. I was celebrating because hope had quietly taken its place. And hope is where every new beginning starts. If this conversation touched your heart, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and tell me, have you ever experienced this kind of loneliness? And if someone came to your mind while listening to this message, don't wait. Reach out. A simple call or message could mean more than you'll ever know. If you'd like me to pray for you personally, or if there's something weighing heavily on your heart, you're welcome to write to me. You'll find my email address in the description below. I personally read every message, respond with care, and keep every conversation completely confidential. Remember this, you are never alone. God walks beside you every single day. Be strong, be courageous, and never lose hope. God is already preparing a way forward for you. Amen.